Hey guys, I'm Mike.
I'm Matthew.
We are the Buffalo Society, and you are watching the Stampede Podcast. We're excited to have you today with us.
Yep, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've had a lot of questions lately, like, what is Lucky 9 Ranch? Well, that's weird.
Well, you asked.
Lucky 9 Ranch is the catalyst behind the Buffalo Society. It's given me an opportunity to play again, and I know, at least for me, I'm sure Matt would agree, and like a lot of you, sometimes just finding time to play is difficult. And, as musicians, we're creators. We create music and lyrics, and we want to be heard. And the music industry, quite honestly, is never really been set up for like independent artists. What say you, Matt?
Yeah, so it's kind of the taking the reins yourself and saying we want to do this, but on our own terms, and it's that spirit that kind of inspired this project, and again, I think that's something kindred you'll see a lot amongst other musicians, that they've tried doing it the right way, or the way that's been paved, that they understand is the process, how it's supposed to go, or so they've been told. And so this gives an opportunity to sort of buck the system and say, no, we don't need a label, we don't need an agent, we don't need all these things. The music is paramount, and then everything else falls into place around it. And so it's been the ability to forge your own path to get the music out there.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I would say that it's always music industry's always been kind of a pay to play, if you will. You kind of get your way in the door, and then once you're there, then hey, wait a minute, then then people start calling, and I don't know. It's just a lot of I'm like anyone else. I resist change. A lot of this digital stuff, this AI stuff that's out there now, I just find it a lot of that disturbing, quite honestly. And I don't know, what would you say makes the song, Matt? Is it the studio? Is it the guitar brand that you play? Is it what is it that makes a song?
Well, I think it's I've heard tons and tons of songwriters talk about it all across different genres and things, and sort of the general consensus is that a song, no matter how you're inspired, where it comes to you, it comes to you sort of, you sort of pluck it out of, the ether, if you will, that the inspiration comes to you, that all the songs are out there, you're just channeling it, you're getting the inspiration, you're getting the sound. And I guess the important thing, when you sit down to write, is I always think if I'm playing something, it would just be something that I want to listen to. Is it something that's going to catch my ear?
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, if I heard this on the radio, am I going to change the channel? If I heard this, live, am I going to stop?
I think if we're all being honest, we'd have to say the same thing. Yeah. Every musician out there is exactly spot on.
Nobody's putting anything out that they feel like is mediocre or just fluff, especially under these confines, because I think in the music business, I've heard tons and tons of stories from, musicians we all would know. For instance, just, since, Sabbath has been a hot topic the last few months with Ozzy's passing and the final concert, Paranoid, arguably one of their biggest hits, was a last-minute addition to that record. They had recorded that whole thing in about a week and a half of studio time on a tight budget, and they needed one more song, and they had that riff they'd been tinkering with, and went back in the studio, hammered it out within a few minutes, and that's, first, second take is what you hear on the record. That's one of their biggest tracks, and then it turns to be great for them, but that was a label going, no, we need one more. And so, that one worked out well, but you look at other, I think about Warrant, a big Warrant fan, Janie Lane, great vocalist, a lot of great songs there. But Cherry Pie was one of those. The record was done. The record was called Uncle Tom's Cabin. It was finished. They were done with it, and then the record said, "No, we need another song. We need a big, we need a radio hit."
It's a good old record.
And so they went back in and cranked out Cherry Pie, which was, again, huge hit, which he lived very much in the shadow of the rest of his career. It was not a bad song. It made them a lot of money, but it wasn't something they felt like maybe artistically had the most integrity behind it, that it was just like a cash grab. So the way a shift in the industry going to more individual privatized type stuff, whether it's what we do here or, somebody else does in a small studio, somebody does at home with their laptop and an acoustic to get the music out. They're only making the music they feel like is worth making.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we're doing. There's not a song on this record that, that you might not like them, but we like them and we put them out. That's the idea.
My mom likes them.
We're it might be crap, but it's our crap. We're going to stand behind it. So,
gonna take it. I name it.
But it's that's that being able to have that integrity behind what you do is a big part of what more of a grassroots music movement lets you have.
Seriously, let's back up for just a minute. I want to. You brought something up earlier when you were talking about Paranoid, and you said that they were on a tight budget.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time down in Medicine Park. I spend as much time as I can down there when given the opportunity. And you beautiful souls are part of the reason that I want to play again, quite honestly. So was down there one night, listened to a young lady explain that she was trying to raise $15,000 to record an album. And I was sitting there thinking in my head, oh my Lord, young lady, and I've said this many, many times, you give me we're big live music fans. I like live music. Matt loves live music. I mean, live music is electric. I've said it many times. You give me an artist and an acoustic guitar and they have a purpose, I'm set. I mean, I'm good. And, full band even too, but I'm just saying live music, there's just something about live music. But when it comes down to the fact, when you brought that up, you said a tight budget, how do you get heard? I just asked you, I said, well, what is what makes the song? Well, if it's the studio,
right, yeah.
And we're all on tight budgets for time and money, and quite honestly, after relationships and work, I mean, all the things that tug at you, what gives?
Well, I will say the you mentioned the resistance to change and all that as far as the shifts in equipment and tech and things in the industry go. But I will say that's one thing that has fostered is the ability to do it yourself.
Yeah.
We're recording through a digital console and stuff. We don't have something that's set up in here. It looks like mission control at NASA, and so that kind of had you over a barrel before with
Absolutely.
You had to go to a studio because you didn't know how to record it. You didn't have the means to do it yourself. You didn't have analog, tape reels and stuff out that you could, sit down and figure out how to do all that stuff. I mean, you look at, back then, the trimming and mastering stuff was with a razor blade and tape like that. Nobody knew how to do that.
Yeah, no. I was talking with T. Cook, and he was telling me that we got our old 2-inch analog reels, so you have to laugh because, 30 years ago, this world looked a lot different. The music world looked a lot different. And, but again, one thing that hadn't changed is it's still hard breaking in.
Yeah.
Artists, how do you get streams? How do you get this? You've got people coming at you from every direction. Hey, we can help you here. We can get you so many streams. And, I read an article that I think it said, and I'm pretty certain this was accurate, 825 billion free streams to reach a gold label status. Blew my mind. 825 billion free streams.
Wow.
So while streams help, and they do help, if you truly want to support an independent artist, you buy physical media, you buy merch, shameless plug, got a hat here, we've got hats behind us, we've got a vinyl record, which, for us was the goal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've said it many times, I'll say it again. When I play for me. And, I don't know how you feel about that. What say you, Matt? And
so we're talking about, physical media and stuff. The idea of a record has changed, and your generation was, you went to a record store, you picked out the physical media. Absolutely. And, I was on the tail end of I remember going to pick it out, thumbing through CDs, not vinyl, but it was like, the album art. That's what grabbed your attention.
Absolutely.
That's those kind of things, and that's something that streaming has really by and large stripped away from music. I think is that you don't have that physical media to interact with the same way, because I remember the first time I got like Metallica albums, sitting there and looking at the album cover and going through the liner notes and reading lyrics and looking at the pictures and all the stuff that was in there, all the stuff that's part and parcel with that physical media. And that was part of the experience, was looking at, this artwork that was meant to represent sonically what this album stood for. And I was having a discussion with another guy I've played with for a long time, and he was talking about singles. And I said, well, that's something that's kind of ebbed and flowed in the music scene. As you look back, 50s, 60s, that was a big singles period. Nobody was putting out albums. You were putting out singles to get on the radio, and singles to get in a jukebox. And then there was more of a creative push into the 70s and late 60s, where artists had more say-so in the creativity and how their music was packaged and put out and represented. And then you got albums as we know them now. I feel like that was the, to me, an album is a musical statement from start to finish. And, it's like a single is like a chapter out of a book. You can read that, but you don't get the whole story. You got to sit down and read the whole thing, listen to the whole thing to get where somebody's at emotionally when they write something, to see where they're coming from, who they are, because all that comes through in the music. And, to appreciate it as you should, I always feel like you need to sit down and listen to a whole record.
Absolutely.
And that's something that kind of the single culture has pushed out. And for the same,
that might be one of those digital changes as well.
And I think it is, because that's how, like you said, streams. They're not trying to get, nobody's pushing a whole record going, we want everyone to stream every song on this album 850 million times.
It's all TikTok reels.
What can we? Does this song have a good soundbite in it that might make a good reel or a good TikTok? Let's put it as a single.
Absolutely.
And
we tinker with it too.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna sit here and say we resist it to the point that we don't use it, because quite honestly, it's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
You brought up an interesting point. You brought up album art, and I'm looking at this. There's a lot of meaningful things on this. I know you'd agree. Pop Struck. This is where we play.
Yeah, so just looking at this, that's stuff that means something to us. Like you said, that's rehearsal space where a lot of that stuff is written and hammered out. Some of the instruments that are actually on the record, like I said, that's my old man's truck. Got a
cajon here that was played on 2 of the songs. That's interesting. We labored over putting Campfire out. And decided hey, we wouldn't, and there's reasons why, but barely any technology on that. Obviously it's an upside down Highway 6 sign, which is why it's Lucky 9. It makes sense. I wish you guys could have seen this in its infant stages. I literally sketched something on a pad, and then Matt comes up with this symbol for the Buffalo Society. And I'm native. I believe we're all natives, from this area, but just a lot of symbolism there.
Again, that's rehearsal space on the back, and
sticking to it.
I think for me, looking at this and kind of going through the creative process on this was, obviously all these things represent something that we care about, it's near and dear to us, and
it's personal.
Yeah, and the grid layout is cool. It's Lucky 9, so we got 9 images that we went through. But one of the reasons I like and kind of just creatively went with the black and white,
absolutely,
for everything this album cycle, was that wanted it to be simple and clean and be something that this might catch your attention, but the music is going to grab you. That this was a blank slate to build that upon, so that the music could speak for itself. That it wasn't,
music is simple.
Yeah,
it should be simple, and that's why I think sometimes we try to complicate it with so much stuff.
I think, like you said, talking about something you sketched out that I'm kind of pieced together, that's one thing I'm really proud about the whole project. All the merchandise, all the logo work, all the branding, marketing, all that stuff.
All designed right here.
We've all done ourselves from scratch, and so
it means something. It's personal.
Yeah, it's been fun to do that. Like I said, as somebody who was always a fan of album artwork, that was. They always joke about, like, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, how are you supposed to know what the book's about if you don't a little bit, You've got to judge it by something, right? And so thinking about, music, that was always some of the stuff that grabbed me was that's what gets your attention first when you're thumbing through the section, especially when you're looking for new music.
You follow the Apple Music links. I follow the Spotify stuff, but it's
Yeah.
different than what we laid out on the album, which I think is unique. You mentioned a while ago that Paranoid was one of the last songs that was on one of their albums, and we kind of know what that feels like in the sense that we had one of those that was, quite honestly, I mean, it was almost just like a filler, if you will. I just had this overwhelming sense, and I know I was getting on your nerves and Lolly's nerves and everybody's nerves, but I just had this overwhelming sense that we had to finish this project, and we had to do it, in a timely manner. We'd been talking about it. There was, there's just a lot going on, and I'm like, man, we got to finish this. We got to force this. We got to get it going. And this was a song that I'd started a couple of years earlier, actually. Went back and looked, and I'm listening to some older stuff, and I'm like, this got some promise. And you come up with some fun little, just outgoing lyrics. I mean, just fun. I mean, it's a fun song, and that was Date Night. Which just completely floored me. I mean, like I said, it was the last song that we added. It literally was. I'm not saying that we put zero effort towards it, but
it was one that it came together
rather quickly.
Yeah, simplistic as it was one of those things that it just worked. And I mean, I think I've said this before, but for most of these tracks, I feel like, you would put together kind of just a skeleton of it, just rhythm section sort of thing, and then we could flesh out rhythm parts, and of course I did lead parts, but it was cool to sort of have the idea come to you, for me, partially fleshed out, and it's just sort of just a canvas to work on. But I would say nearly everything that's on there was, I mean, basically the first idea or two that popped in my head for what's going to go here, what's going to work. And there was definitely stuff that got wadded up and put on the floor. But yeah, I mean, it nothing was forced. It was all very organic, and if something didn't work, if a lick or something or turnaround or something we were trying to do something didn't work, we're not going to do that.
I mean, we're going to scrap that and quick. But
we weren't too attached to any one particular idea, which is difficult to do because as creative people, and anybody watching that is in that same boat, is you can kind of get you can get entrenched in your own ideas about how something should sound or the feel of it or whatever, and it get kind of too precious with it, and it's difficult when you're collaborating and working with other people to kind of be like, no, this is mine, this is my idea or my thought, or this is how I think it should sound, when somebody else has better input or a different perspective on it, and that hasn't lived with it quite so long, because I know most of these songs lived in your head for a long time before anything ever was put out for me to hear, and so you'd lived with them a lot longer and had a better idea.
Yeah, and I think that's just part of that creative process. And quite honestly, for me being away from music as long as I was, in the sense that now, I mean, you and I both play praise and worship, big part of our life. I'm a man of faith. I don't hide from that fact. But outside of that, 30 years is a long time to not be on a stage or not be in a studio, so for me it was like just reinventing that idea, or in myself in that process, in some ways. 2024 was an extremely strange year for me personally. A lot of hills, a lot of valleys, had a lot going on, lost my dad, turned in some old habits, had a lot of things that I needed to work through, personally.
I think a little, in difficult times, like I said, that's always a, I always find a lot of creativity comes out of those. And if it doesn't, you should try. Use it for some good. If something difficult's going on that you have to get through, and I know as musicians we lean on that. There might be days when I don't want to talk to anybody or do anything, but my guitar.
But, yeah.
And I can sit down and I can play on the couch or the whatever and just work a lot of that junk out. And
Yeah, it's funny how music does that.
yeah. And those progressions, licks, ideas, whatever, that comes out of those things can be turned into something good. But for me, it was a little, you said 2024 was tough for you, and with 2022, just a little further back, is when I lost my grandfather, who's the man that raised me and was a big musical influence in my life. As far as, he couldn't carry a tune in a bucket, but he liked good music, and so he, even though
when
couldn't do anything for himself, but could barely play a radio, and that's his words, not mine. But Creedence Clearwater was his favorite band of all time, and big influence on me, and
original CCR.
Yeah, and so I, that's
no offense, guys.
So that was I got really into. I music that he and I loved together was a big place that I could retreat to when he was ill, and then when he passed, and thereafter that was like a place that I could go, a shared space I could go back and revisit and sit with him for a little while.
Absolutely,
was pulling up those songs, his favorite record or a track or whatever, and those things are just indelibly printed on your mind of when you first time you heard that song in the truck as a kid or whatever the case may be. But and that at the same time in his illness and everything, just that's when I stepped back from praise and worship, as you mentioned, that I just didn't have the time to devote to. I'd been on the same team for nearly 10 years.
It's that balance and everything. You've got relationships, you've got work. Like a lot of you, we work. We'll get to that later. A lot of you are going to be really, really shocked when you find out exactly what we do, but that's a whole nother podcast. But back to the music, the ups and downs, like you said, and you're facing hard times, and Man in the Mirror. That was another late edition.
That was one of the last ones.
It was the second to last. So honestly, but for me personally, Man in the Mirror, you look at some of the words. That was just about personal challenges. Honestly, you're looking at yourself and you're going, okay, a lot of self-reflection. I love the idea of reflection.
Yeah.
The idea that you see yourself for what you are. It's just, I don't know, that whole song is just about, really in a lot of ways, and it sounds weird to say it this way, it's like you're just rediscovering yourself as a man.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many things going on with it, and proud of that song. Your contributions were great. That's where, like you said, you start with a shell, and you've kind of got an idea, and you're going, okay, I wonder what this is going to be, and then you take on somebody else's input who has been there, and you're going, okay, man, this is good. Like, this is really good.
Yeah, I was really proud of that one, the way that one turned out. For sure.
I love it.
Start to finish, from the time we started kind of fleshing these out, it's kind of a blur. I feel like it was over the course of maybe 6-8 months that we put all this together.
It's pretty quick. It's going to be even quicker on that sophomore album, but we're working on it. So,
but that's we talk about that's one of the advantages of doing it on your own terms, on your own time, is that you can do that. You don't have your back against a wall, having paid money for studio time or something, someplace to go. Well, we have a week, we have 2 weeks, whatever, to hammer this out, and maybe not have something you're entirely happy with when it's said and done. But this is something that, like I said, because this is not our livelihood. This is something that we're passionate about. But it's something that we can, trust me, if we did this for a living, we'd be passing a hat at the end of this podcast.
The truth of it is that, I will never make my living doing this.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I play music, I play for me. You're a father. Matt's a good father. And that's what fathers should be. He dedicates time to his son and to his wife and to his craft, his work. So
and that's really, I mean, it's hard. It's a balance. You've got to find the time. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
How much time do you devote? There's so many hours in a week, and by the time you work and sleep and relationships, and it's just a big balance. And it's one thing I don't want to lose sight of, and I've said it many times. I'll say it again. Is just that I want this to be a fun project. Like, I don't want it to be a dread. Like, it should never be a, oh gosh, we got to go do the podcast tonight, or we're going to compose today, which, it shouldn't be a dread. Music is fun.
There's definitely a discipline to it of, okay, we have to do this, That's like anything worth doing in life has that balance of you've got a lot of irons in the fire, and you've got to sit yourself down and do things sometimes. And so that's, otherwise it doesn't get done. Had we just, could have been nobody had our feet to the fire on this going, we need this. When is this out? When is this coming out? When we didn't have a deadline. We didn't have anything. And
we work our own way.
And so we were only accountable to ourselves in that regard, which is kind of frightening, like you said, because you have to make yourself do it, and so you don't have.
I just felt this overwhelming sense that it was something I needed to do. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Oh,
I felt like there was more to it. Like I had something left to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's still
and
more
when
in the
you
tank,
when you sense that, it's hard to put it behind you, and like we're already working towards, like I said, that sophomore album. I don't want to skip ahead, but just thinking, and that's actually a good point to bring up. So you brought up these songs have been in my head for so long, and they've been in your head now for a while. I mean, honestly, they have. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers, which we do. We obviously follow it, and like all of you. I mean, I know you guys do, but you're looking at it and you're going, man, our streams aren't really that good. And you're going, well, crap, we've only been released now or published for 2 months.
Yeah.
And you're going, okay. But like I said, you've got all these places pulling at you, hey, it's one of them pay for play. We'll get you so much for this and da-da-da-da-da. And Spotify and I'm sure Apple Music, all of them, they do that. Mm-hmm. That they want you to play the game, and a couple months after I lost Dad, I became a grandpa.
Yeah.
And, it's almost like becoming a parent, honestly. You're seeing this child that comes through your child, and you're like, oh my gosh, And the song "Lost Time" comes to mind during that time. It was just there's a lot in this song. Yeah. There's a lot in it. Got a good rockabilly feel. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's fun and playful. I keep using those words, but fun and playful. But it's almost like you're seeing yourself grow up, and then you're seeing yourself through your grandson. And it's like all of life's lessons, all of those things coming back. I remember, the very last verse, it talks about, this old man don't mess around. I'll light you up in spite of your innocence, and I'm looking at these words and I'm thinking, I remember when that was said to me. My dad used to tell me. My dad used to tell me all the time, son, you're going to meet him, and when you meet him, you'll know. And when you're young and reckless and carefree, you don't care about that until you meet him. And then when you meet him, you're like, okay. So it's like you're almost passing some of this stuff down, if that makes sense, And it's like, again, you're reinventing yourself as a person, as a musician, as a man.
Yeah. I would say, for me, going through this process, a really fun part and a new part for me was, I've played for, 15, 16 years, and
box of wolves.
Yeah. But you said, shout out Brandon,
like
Brandon
we
Tyson,
gotta get
Brian.
We got to get B rolling on it. Dial him up.
But to you sit down and you play things for yourself and come up with an idea. And for me, it was always like, well, this is a neat little progression, but what am I ever going to do with it? And you just shelve it and go on. And this has given a chance to kind of dust some of those things off and go, well, I have something to do with these now.
I can be a rock star.
Well, yeah, it's a strong word for it, but yeah.
Isn't that what it's all about?
We talked about, a background in praise and worship. That's all essentially covers. You know, there's some of those things you have some leeway to put your own spin on or to put your own, feel to. But basically, you're playing parts. You're playing it as it exists, and then
Scripted.
Yeah, and then been a part of a country and like southern rock cover band for, gosh, almost probably 7 or 8 years called Stone's Throw, and I play bass in that band. And again, it's all covers, fun covers, and stuff that again we don't play that we don't like to listen to. So it's Creedence and it's Skynyrd and it's Brooks and Dunn and Johnny Cash and
Good live music.
Yeah, good beer drinking music and have fun with it. But at the same time, it's definitely a creative outlet, but it's not a creative outlet in terms of you're creating something. You know what I mean? You're coming together in a space and you're making something. You know, you're standing on
That's
shoulders.
yours.
Yeah.
It's
and
yours.
so it's fun, but it's not
Distinct.
Yeah, and so for me, my whole existence as a musician was essentially playing some version of a cover, and so it was really cool to come into something and go, well, I don't have to try to sound like this or that or the other. I don't have to try to stick to this or that because there are no parts to follow. There's nothing like that. This is whatever we make it out to be is what it is. But I know it's not new to you, but it was new to me, and so that was a fun
but it was
self-discovery.
new to me.
Well, on some level, yeah. But I mean,
it's like it's just that it was an idea that I had to overcome and say, you know what? I mean, you're not used up yet. You can still do this. You know what I mean? It's like you love it. What's holding you back?
Yeah.
And then I realized that the only thing standing in the way of me and doing it was me.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then I got to work on that.
We've now, I think, aired out all the other projects I've been a part of. We haven't put you in the hot seat on that yet. So if you go to our website, you can see a little bit of that history. But, like I said, just as far as for me, it was a new idea or a new experience of getting to create my own original content for this instead of trying to stick to a part or a cover or something. But you've been a part of other groups that were all totally original, but it's probably been the first time that you were like solely in the driver's seat. Like this is just what Mike wants it to be. I mean, there was less.
I think there's a lot of that to it, honestly. But I mean, as well as I do. I mean, for me personally, I'm excited to hear what you bring. So I like hearing like what we've done here, and we've got some new stuff going on that I know you've been listening to and playing with and creating. So I'm actually equally as excited as that. That's why that's another reason that I love the idea and the opportunity that Lucky 9 brings us all, especially in the way of this podcast. Is we're all trying to build a brand. Mm-hmm. That's really at the end of the day what we're trying to do, and our formula works for us.
Yeah,
like we don't want to play 2, 3, 4 weekends, in a month. I mean, like again, we've covered
even if we
this.
could.
Matt's a dad.
Even
I'm
if
a
we
grandpa
could.
now.
Yeah.
We write, we compose, we play. And, like I said, we're our own rock star. I mean, you can do all of that stuff and play this game.